You tune into the SportsCast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need. We give you outspoken thoughts about all the headlines. We talk baseball, football, hockey, and more. No matter the topic, we cover it. Get ready for the show and keep it outspoken. Keep it outspoken. We keep it outspoken only on the SportsCast. Tune into the SportsCast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need.
Welcome to the OutSpoken SportsCast. It's Tuesday, and we're going solo tonight. Brian and Jeff have some other things going, and so we're going to take it over, and we're going to talk NBA playoffs, updates, East and West Finals, the draft lottery coming up tonight. We're going to see who gets the first pick, NHL playoffs, and much more right after this. Welcome. This is episode 119, Talks on Tuesday. We're going to talk NBA playoffs. My name is Craig. I'm your host for this evening. So, NBA playoffs. We had 2 Game 7s. We already knew that Miami and Golden State were in the East and West Finals. We knew our teams. They had 2 Game 7s on Sunday, and they both ended up being blowouts. Kind of saw one of them coming, not the other one. The team that we expected to show up in Boston finally decided to show up Sunday. They played the way that they played when they swept Brooklyn. They did what they needed to do. They took care of business, and they eliminated the defending champs. It looked like at the end of the game that Giannis was just worn out from trying to carry the entire team and carry without Middleton. He was trying to do it all himself, and by the end of Game 7, he looked exhausted, and they just couldn't do anything. Meanwhile, Boston, anything they did, anything they touched, went exactly how they were supposed to go. So this puts Boston and Miami, your 2 top seeds. The East played out just like the seeding said it was going to, just like it was meant to be. So that is going to be an amazing series. I think it's going to go deep. I think you're going to have game after game after game is going to be close and well contested. These teams know each other very well, and I think it's going to be a great series. Now, the surprise in all surprises. Dallas goes into Phoenix and absolutely blows them out of the gym. We knew that Luka was going to show up. He's averaging 39 points. Here's a team that this guy does what he does every game. He's averaged more points than anybody in a playoffs. He just does what he does. Game 7, Game 1, Luka is going to be Luka, and he is going to carry any team. But we had questions on whether or not any of the role players for Dallas could show up on a game on the road. Well, I guess Spencer Dinwiddie is a fan of our show because we've been asking for 6 games where he was. For the first 6 games, he went and just wet the bed every time Dallas needed him. Well, Sunday he did not. Sunday, he puts up 30 to go with Luka's 37. And him and Luka teaming up to have 30 points apiece in a game 7 has only happened one time, and that was in 2002. Well, the 2002 was the last time it happened. And you might know the two guys that did it. Their name is Shaq and Kobe. So Luka and Spencer Dinwiddie combined for 67 and almost beat Phoenix single-handedly. Meanwhile, on the Phoenix side, none of the big three show up. Chris Paul goes into hiding. Devin Booker goes into hiding. DeAndre Ayton goes into hiding. I guess they all stayed in Dallas and didn't make the trip back to Phoenix. It was absolutely the most one-sided game I've seen in all the playoffs. I mean, that series was blowout. The home team, Phoenix, won by 30 last time they were in Phoenix. Dallas won by almost 30 when they were here. That's great, but this team in Dallas is now going to face Golden State, and I'm telling you right now that Steph Curry probably texted Devin Booker and said, "Hey, thanks, bro. Now you just made my life difficult for the next 2 weeks." Because I'm telling you that Golden State did not want to see Dallas. They're 3-1 against them this year. Now, granted, Dallas has never played when all three of the stars are there. Steph's been out, Clay's been out, Draymond's been out. Jordan Poole wasn't hot as the sun when they played him. So, yes, there are a possibility that the 4 guys from Golden State come in here and just make Dallas's life miserable. I don't see that. I see Dallas giving them fits and giving them another good series. Especially if Dallas can get the productivity out of their role players that they got in Game 7. Defensively, Jason Kidd made some amazing adjustments after Game 1. Because after Game 1 and 2, it looked like Dallas was just going to get run in 4. At this point, the season is a success for Dallas, no matter what happens. Golden State could sweep them out of the gym, and they're still a success. They were supposedly 2 years away. The trade, when they got rid of Porzingis, nobody knew that even remotely that this trade would do what it has done for Dallas. Dinwiddie and Luka have gelled together like they've played basketball together their whole life. It's incredible. So if you're a Dallas fan, hold on to your seats because I think this is going to get real interesting. Game 1 of the East is tonight. Boston looked extremely good. They looked like they knew what they were doing. They looked like they played the way they needed to play. Defense was locked down. Offense, they were hitting threes. They had role players, guys, just nothing but net. Ball movement. Everything was in place. But Miami is a whole lot better than what they were facing with Milwaukee being down Middleton. Miami's healthy. Bam Adebayo and all these guys are coming in. Tyler Hero. These guys will make a difference, and it will be a good series. I think this goes deep. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of blowouts. I think it's going to go 6 or 7. And if Boston plays the way they play, then they'll be fine. But Miami's not going to lay down. Miami is not going to lay down, and they are not going to go away, and it's not going to be a sweep in either direction, I don't feel. The West the same way. Golden State, they did not shoot well. They got beat by a ton without Ja Morant. They only won by 3 at home in Game 6. They did not want to go to Game 7. I believe that that's going to be another series. It's 2 different tales of the tape. Golden State wants to run and gun, and Dallas wants to pick and roll and slow things down. And yes, Dallas lives and dies by the three-pointer. Both teams do. But Dallas does it in a much more half-court offense, rotate the ball around, get the guy open, ball movement type deal, whereas Golden State just likes to get out and play street ball and just run and gun, and Steph likes to pull up from the logo and knock it down inside half court. I think Golden State's too powerful. I thought Phoenix was too powerful. So I'm going to say that Golden State is going to win, and they are going to probably in 6, but if Dallas wins, it's not a surprise. At this point, they're playing with house money, and I believe Jason Kidd has the formula. This is a very, very reminiscent and reminder of 2011. And we all know what happened in 2011, where they shocked the world and won the NBA title. I'm not sure they can do it, but the way that it's set up, the way that it's done, the way that it's going, I believe they can. I think Golden State's too powerful, but I'm not positive. I never expected what I saw Sunday night. What I saw Sunday night was one of the most put together, thought out, executed plans that was ever executed in a Game 7. That was absolutely, positively one of the most methodical. Phoenix didn't show up, but they didn't show up because of what Dallas did. Dallas put the clamps down and made it difficult on them. And so I believe that it's going to be a good series. It's going to be deep. And I just think Golden State, as long as they stay healthy, does what they need to do and gets the job done. Dallas is going to be good for a long time. And if they keep Jalen Brunson and they can get Dinwiddie, who knows what happens. I think the NBA playoffs are going to be very interesting, and especially with Dallas. Dallas is playing with house money. They didn't expect to be here, and they are just rolling right now. They're playing with house money, and that is a dangerous, dangerous thing in an NBA. When you have a team that has no care and just goes out and plays for fun and has a bunch of fun, because that's exactly what it looked like Sunday. They went out there and had a blast and had a good time doing it. And so we'll see what happens. That series starts on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Dallas fans are a little bit happier to have 8 o'clock start times instead of these 9:30 and 10 o'clock start times. So we will see what happens. Tonight is the draft lottery. We got teams that didn't make the playoffs, and we see who gets the number 1 pick. 3 teams in Detroit and Houston and Orlando. They've changed the way they do it. They all have the same chance, the same number of ping pong balls, or however you want to do it now, to get the number 1 pick. Detroit's season disappointing after they had last year. They get the number 1 pick. They made some signings. They thought they were going to be better. Here they are again, right back to square one. So not sure if this will help them. Houston, with the getting rid of Harden, quitting on him and trading him, they automatically went into team tank. And Orlando is trying to rebuild, so they'll be okay. Some of the names that might be the number 1 pick, you got Chet Holmgren. He's 7 foot or 195. Not real sure that body type fits in the NBA. He's going to have to put some weight on or get pushed around. But the only thing about him is he extends the floor. He can shoot threes. He can help a team there if you like to run. But if you're looking for your down on the block guy at 7 foot, he's not your guy. He's going to get pushed around, and Giannis and all these guys will just push him around. There's no way. Paolo Banchero from Duke, another shooter. Good way to stretch the floor. Jaden Ivey and Jabari Smith are projected. You're probably your best four. Any of those four could go number one, depending on who gets the pick, what guy fits best in what system. But those names right there should be the first four you see coming off the board when the draft comes up. I don't think any of these guys are going to be your franchise building LeBron James, Kobe Bryant teams go from 30 wins to 50 wins with just drafting this guy. But we'll see. College these days, a lot of them are running these pro style offenses and doing what they need to do. So it appears that these guys are all ready. A lot of these guys played in the tournament. A lot of these guys were successful in the tournament. Duke had a deep run. Gonzaga had a deep run. Obviously Carolina. And so these guys are from these systems that keep popping out the stars, and we will see how that goes. That starts here in about 30 minutes. It's right before tip-off of Boston and Miami. So we'll see who gets number one tonight. Okay, so now we're going to go to the NHL playoffs. We had a multitude of Game 7s in the NHL, and all of them were good. Pittsburgh, Dallas lose heartbreakers in overtime. Both of them had leads. Both of them had leads late. Sidney Crosby came back for Pittsburgh. We were questioning on whether he was even going to be able to play with the concussion symptoms. He got cleared right at the last minute. And I have to think, as heartbreaking as this is for Pittsburgh and the state of Pennsylvania and the people of Pennsylvania who wanted so badly to get Sid one more run, I just think it has to be the end. His career has been long. It's been injury ridden. The concussions we talked about before, where he's had symptoms and missed extended time. I just don't believe when he has a concussion of this magnitude and shakes the cobwebs off. He was able to play Game 7, but if you watched, he just wasn't himself. He just wasn't Sid. And I think that has to do with why Pittsburgh didn't make it. But Crosby, Malkin, these guys are getting old. These guys are getting long in the tooth. They are trying to put together another run. It just didn't work. The Rangers came back from 3-1 down. That's a team that's going to be young and is going to be around for a very long time. They've had trouble in the past getting past that deal. And it looked like this year they were going to have the same thing. They were down 3-1, backs against the wall in Game 5. Crosby gets hurt, and they're able to turn down games. They came back in every game. They were down multiple goals in 2 of the games. They were down 2 goals in 2 of the games. And so it was an impressive comeback for the New York Rangers. If you're a Ranger fan, it's absolutely exciting if you're a Rangers fan. Dallas. They played very well. They were a team. They were playing. Nobody expected Dallas to. They expected Calgary to walk in and walk all over them. Game 7 comes along. They come out 40 seconds into the game. Jamie Benn shoots, scores. Dallas is up. They're looking good. Ottinger. This kid stood on his head. If you are a Dallas Stars fan, you've got goalie. You don't have to worry about that for many years to come, because this kid was his first full NHL season, and he stopped 64 shots in Game 7. And I would guarantee if you ask him, the game winner, he's going to tell you that he should have stopped it. He was probably exhausted. They faced 67 shots. That's terrible for what's in front of him. That's on the guys in front of him, the defenseman. You've got to be better in front of him. You can't let 67 pucks into the net. That, unexcusable. I understand Rupe Hintz was hurt, last minute scratch. I understand that it's game 7 and energy's higher and people are just firing from all over the ice. But 67 shots on goal Dallas had half of that. They didn't even challenge the Markstrom. They didn't even challenge him. They didn't even challenge him at all compared to what Ottinger had to face. Ottinger he stood on his head. He was the best goalie in the first round. Even though he's not here now, they've been eliminated. He was the best goalie in the first round. Save percentage, goals against. This kid did everything he could to will Dallas to victory. He just didn't get there. So, what we're looking for in the next round, you've got Calgary and Edmonton. These two teams hate each other. Calgary's going to be the favorite. We'll see. Canada has not had a Stanley Cup since 1993. So they're, to have both Canada teams facing each other in the second round, not what they wanted to do. They were kind of hoping to have both teams and maybe face in the finals and not, still you're only going to get one of them, but either way, they were hoping not to face now. It's going to be a brutal, low-scoring fights like you've never seen before. You thought Calgary-Dallas was bad. This is going to be – they might drop the gloves on the opening face-off of Game 1. These two teams can't stand each other. History, a deep history of fights and brutal series and knockdown dragouts. It should be old-school hockey. Low-scoring, hits, forechecking. It's going to be great if you're a hockey fan. Blues, Avalanche. Avalanche are heavily favored, but kid from St. Louis finding his stride in goal. And so he found it a couple years ago and led him to the finals. If this kid can get hot again, that's what wins you games in the Cup playoffs is your hot goaltender. So I think Colorado wins. I think probably in 6. They weren't even tested in the first round, so they've been sitting for a week and a half. We'll see if that rust plays into Game 1. You got the Rangers, Carolina. I think Carolina is favored in that series. The Rangers were drug out and beat up, gave everything they had to Pittsburgh, so wouldn't be surprising if the first couple games they were lackadaisical and didn't get a whole lot of offense and a whole lot of special teams in that. So it's going to be a good series. And then Tampa and Florida is your last series, and I think Tampa wins that. Sorry, laptop came unplugged, and we had to plug it back in or we were going to lose power here. So, okay. So those are your 4 series, I believe. Probably Tampa and Carolina win. I believe the Avalanche and Calgary probably win. That's going to be your update. We'll keep you updated as we go on. A story that just broke right before we came on is Matt Harvey, ex-pitcher for the Mets. If you remember, the Dark Knight had a very, very promising career to start out with. Since he's left New York, it hasn't been quite as promising. Right now, he's currently in Baltimore on a minor league deal. He's trying to make his way back to the major leagues. Well, that's going to be a little more difficult now because he just got suspended for 60 games for distributing oxycodone. If you remember, the Tyler Skaggs tragic end here in Arlington, where he was playing the Rangers, he was found in his hotel room, died of oxycodone and fentanyl. And so since then, MLB has really cracked down on these type of things being distributed in their locker rooms. And so Matt Harvey will now be suspended for 60 games. I'm sure Baltimore will let him go on the minor league deal. That's not, there's no money really, no cut, no roster. They don't have to worry about filling a roster spot. he'll be gone. And so the 60-game suspension will be almost the rest of this year. And then with Harvey and his age and the way he's performed, this might be the end of Matt Harvey. These things just can't happen. These drugs and being distributed through the locker rooms and stuff like that. These guys just don't know what they're doing. And then you get mixed with alcohol and partying and all the things that they've done. It's just a real bad deal. You've got young rookies that are looking up to these guys, and if they give them these things, hey man, if you're having a little ache, having a little pain, get through your next start. I mean, all these guys want to make the show, and here's Harvey down in the minor leagues, and guys are trying to do what they can to make it to the big league and to make the show and get their paycheck and get their career started. And so if Harvey's down here passing oxycodones out like they're candy, man, that's not a good thing for Major League Baseball. It's another black eye for the sport and drugs and you had the steroids. Now you got oxycodone and fentanyl. Things just can't happen, man. You just cannot allow those things to happen. So for Major League Baseball to suspend him for 60 games and make a statement here, they handled it correctly. And hopefully this sends a message that you can't be passing around oxycodone and fentanyls and illegal drugs and steroids in these locker rooms to older guys, younger guys, or anybody. There's no place for it in the game. I understand it's a long season, 162 games, bumps, bruises, you're going to get beat up, but it's just not worth trying to jumpstart your career. It's not worth dying over. And that's what these kids are doing because they don't know what they're getting, where they're getting them from. The ones that Tyler Skaggs got were black market, come to find out, and they didn't even know what he was taking. I mean, when they tested him, they had no idea what he was taking. It was just a mixture of some guy in his basement putting stuff together, and it's dangerous. And for these guys to be passing them out and distributing them, and they're not doctors, they have no knowledge of what they're doing, and the guy you're giving them to, you don't know if they're allergic to anything. You don't know what they've taken and what they haven't taken. What the oxycodone's mixing with. What are these guys doing? Are they going drinking? Are they going out? Are they going partying? What are they using it for? You just don't have any room for it in the league. And so that is Matt Harvey's probably end of his career. I would be very shocked to see him back in the major leagues, and if he does come back, I'd be very shocked for him to be any kind of like known. This guy is on our roster. This guy is more than like a long bullpen guy or something to that effect. I just don't see the ability of Harvey to recover from this. The update on the Trevor Bauer case, it starts the 23rd. The appeal does. Dodgers have gotten word, which I guess he's still part of that team. They haven't officially cut him. He's just been suspended. I kind of thought he was a free agent, but I guess they said today that Major League Baseball has told the Dodgers that this appeal, plan on it lasting several months. So if he somehow gets the appeal reduced, it's not going to be anytime this season, probably. Sounds to me like they're going to make it drag out and they're going to make it last the whole season. Trevor Bauer may have pitched his last game. He's older. He's a little long in the tooth. He's kind of been on the downslope as it was. I mean, he was pitching good for LA, but the guy's weird, man. Some of the things he gets into, he cut his hand a couple years ago. He's trying to take Cleveland to a World Series, and he cuts his hand on a drone. Like, what are we doing taking a drone apart when we're trying to pitch in the World Series? And then all these allegations of the different ladies and the things that he's doing and choking them to unconsciousness. And it's the same story from multiple women. And so if it's the same story, when you hear it over and over and over and over, and it's almost a carbon copy of it, somebody has to be telling the truth. And so the question is going to be, is MLB going to acknowledge that any of these games that he missed last year and the games he's missing now that counting? Or is this going to be a whole new 2 year from the time they hit the gavel on the counter? Is it going to be 2 years from that point? If they count the time in the past, he might see him be able to recover. If they're saying, no, this is all new information, so this is a whole new suspension. That was all last time. This is new. His career's over. And so that will be surprising. But I was surprised to see today that Major League Baseball has said, yeah, this is probably going to last quite a while. So sounds to me like Major League Baseball is going to make life very difficult for Trevor Bauer to come back in. About it for baseball. We got some NFL news. Looks like finally that the NFL and Deshaun Watson are supposed to meet this week, and we're finally maybe going to get a word on how many games Deshaun Watson's going to miss for all of this that he's had with the masseuses and all this going on. Criminal side's been dropped. Money's been shelled out for the civil side of it. NFL conduct unbecoming. I think he has to get at least 6 games. If he doesn't get at least 6 games, it looks bad on the NFL for what they've done to Zeke, what they've done to other guys in the past, for things that are not, the Ray Rice incident starts with 2, goes to 4, then he gets banned from the league. They just haven't been consistent when it's come to conduct and everything to that effect. It is very difficult to understand, very difficult to figure out what the NFL is going to do here. Cleveland has prepared themselves. They said they are prepared to expect him to miss multiple games. That's why we're believing they're holding on to Baker Mayfield. There's been rumors swirling. Cleveland sends him to Seattle for this and that. Cleveland sends him to Detroit. Cleveland sends him to – they're just trying to get something for him. I think the NFL's waiting him out because they're like, you don't want him. We're going to wait until you just cut him and we don't have to give you nothing. So, I don't know. If I'm Baker Mayfield, I tell Cleveland to kick rocks. Like, I'm not going to come in here and save your season and then get replaced by the guy that you went and traded for. There's no chance. Like, they have not done this kid. Here's a kid who has been the best of all these draft picks they've wasted. Granted, he hasn't been perfect. He's had some games where you're just like, what is he doing? Why is he throwing that? Why is he playing this bad? But he got a playoff win. He was close to beating Kansas City. I think he goes somewhere else. I think he gets a contract. I think he helps teams win. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer right now. I don't think he's going to take a team and put him on his back and drag him to the Super Bowl. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Russell Wilson. But he's good enough to be better than a lot of these teams have right now. He's better than what Seattle's got right now. He's better than what Philadelphia has right now. He's better than what most of these teams have. Would you put Baker up there and let a rookie, these rookies that are trying to play, if they're not ready? Pittsburgh doesn't have a quarterback with the Haskins tragedy now. They're grasping at straws. The kid they drafted, there's no way he's going to be ready by opening day. So, if you're Pittsburgh, do you go knock on the door and see if you can get Baker to let this kid have a year to get ready? I think I just think if I'm Baker Mayfield, I tell him, no, we're not doing it. Now, I don't know if the NFL works like the NBA and you could force your way out, or if Cleveland says, you're stuck, you're going to play. And you're going to play while Deshaun's suspended. And then when he comes back, you're going to hold his clipboard over here. I mean, that's a bad look at Cleveland if that's what they do. We'll see, though. This Goodell meeting with him, we're going to try to work it out. We're going to try to – it's got to be 6 games. It's got to be. I can't understand how you would want anybody else to be suspended, and then he has multiple. There's still people coming out on Deshaun Watson saying he did things inappropriately. I've just never understood it from a standpoint of what do you need that many physical therapists for, massage therapists for? Like, don't you just have one you go to? And I mean, if I'm the Texans, if I'm Cleveland, just hire one and put him with the team. Why are we putting him out there and to go to one in every city or multiple ones in every city? And it's a bad look. It's a bad look for Deshaun. So who knows what he ever did, what he didn't do. I don't think you're ever going to get the truth really come out of what happened. So that's your Deshaun Watson update. Camps are starting. Rookie mini camps just finished. Regular season camps are full team camps are ready to start. Schedules came out. We talked about strength of schedule Friday. Don't really think that plays in because it's based on last year's schedule. It's based on the team not getting better, and by what you've done in trade, done in draft, teams should get better. Teams like the Lions got better. Teams like the Saints got better. Seems like New England didn't get any better. That's still a head-scratching draft. But the schedules came out, and they do the travel, and they do the time zones, and they do all this stuff. And it comes out that Pittsburgh never plays outside their time zone. They play in the Eastern time zone every game. And they travel like 10,000 miles total from Pittsburgh. It's the least in decades. Like, there are teams that are traveling more, going to London one way than the Pittsburgh Steelers are traveling all year. If that doesn't help you and give you an advantage, I don't know what does. So keep an eye on the Pittsburgh Steelers this year and see if maybe they don't win a couple of these games from teams being jet lagged and them having a very favorable, all time zones are the same. Distances the least in the NFL by tons of miles. And you see on when these any given Sundays that these teams that go East Coast to West Coast and are jet lagged and they go across 2 different time zones and 3 different time zones, the Steelers aren't going to have to deal with that. They're going to be in the same time zone all the time. Short travel, lots of rest. Keep an eye on that and see if the NFL did not dramatically favor some games for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That made no sense to me when you have other teams traveling that far just to go to London or East Coast to West Coast, how the Steelers didn't get any of that. None of it. They don't even leave the East time zone. I mean, I understand that you're going to play those divisions and stuff like that, but that just seems like one team has that kind of schedule and the rest of them don't. Seems like a very favorable schedule. With minicamp starting, you worry about injuries. hopefully these teams can stay healthy. They can get through the camps and COVID's down. Haven't heard a lot in the NFL of protocols and safety protocols, and it's running through baseball a little bit. Haven't really heard in the NBA. I mean, Steve Kerr missed 3 games of the last couple games of the Golden State series. He's now been reinstated, so there's that. But you just really haven't heard a lot of the COVID outbreaks and then the travel and the last minute travel. And so hopefully we're getting to that. But we'll see. Okay. So we talked about on Friday, we talked about the Brittany Griner story. She was detained for the THC cartridges that were in the vape. There's debate on whether they're hers. There's debate on whether they're put in their bag. Debate on how big of a star Brittany Griner really is. We talked about the possibility of the prisoner swap. Well, Russia has come out and they got an idea. And they're like, hey, we got this guy. 25 years, arms dealer. We'll give you Brittany Griner back if you give us the Merchant of Death. What? Excuse me? Who? The Merchant of Death, this guy is called. He's serving 25 years for smuggling arms from Thailand into the United States. Was going to blow up, just mass destruction all over. 2008, this guy gets arrested, serving a 25-year sentence. And that's who Russia wants in exchange for Brittany Griner. Yeah, I think we'll just we'll let this one play out. I don't think that's a fair swap. We got the Merchant of Death and arms dealer, and you got Brittany Griner. Okay. We'll see what if Russia ups the ante here and tries to put some more charges or tries to say they're going to hold on to her longer. I just don't see swapping prisoners as the answer to get her back. We've said she's wrongfully imprisoned. Hasn't been really a problem we haven't been a complaint on the facilities or the way they've treated her, anything like that. But I just don't see prisoner swaps for a guy that's in federal custody, been in federal custody for 12, 14 years now of the 25-year sentence. Yeah, okay, served most of it. Probably not as dangerous as before. But I'm not giving him back. I'm not giving him back for Brittany Griner. Like, without offending anybody that the WNBA is not popular and Brittany Griner is not a star, listen, we don't want any Americans over there in Russia being imprisoned for THC cartridges. Did she know she even had them? Did she forget? Did one of her teammates throw it in the bag and think, hey, Brittany, carry this for me? Who knows? But the bottom line is, it's not on any other day when Russia's not invading the Ukraine and the U.S. is not putting sanctions against Russia and we're not having war across the world, then they probably don't even arrest her. They probably confiscate the cartridges and we don't even hear about this story. But because of the wars, because of the sanction, because of President of the United States and Russia and the leader of Russia and Putin and all these guys, we're hearing about it. And we're hearing about it, and they want to go for broke. And I just don't see that's the play or that's the way to do it. Like, that's eventually she comes home. Eventually she gets done. They're just not going to be able to hold her on cartridges of THC. It's just not the way it's meant to be. I think she gets released. I think she goes to trial. I think they find her guilty, and I think she gets a slap on the wrist and gets to be released. If they give up this prisoner swap, we're opening a can of worms we do not want to open. Going down rabbit holes we do not want to go open, because they're like, well, if that worked, let's go get somebody else. And if we can get that for Brittany Griner, well, let's go get one of these other stars. You just don't want to start feeding into that and going into that and making deals with the devil in Russia. You just do not want to do that. One more story that came out back in the NFL. The Packers made Jair Alexander the highest paid cornerback in NFL. I mean, that's great. Seals up your defense, but it's a bad look. You got Aaron Rodgers, and you told Aaron, you take all this money, and we can't pay any wideouts. You're not going to have anybody to throw the ball to. Aaron's like, that's fine. I want money. All right. They trade the wide receiver. They get rid of him. And now they go back up the Brinks truck for Jair Alexander. And if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, guys, didn't you tell me you couldn't afford my wide receiver? Why are we paying that guy more than anybody? We couldn't have split that a little bit. We couldn't have kicked the can down the road a little bit, gave Jair some money up front and backloaded his and still paid a wide receiver. I mean, here's Odell Beckham. He's out here running around, free agent. Rams say they want him back. They haven't signed him. There was a deal I thought that was done last week on the Patriots. Thought he was going to New England. That's not seeming to be a deal. So, I mean, if he goes to Green Bay, but I mean, now that they've paid Alexander, I don't think you can pay a wide receiver. So it's just a bad look when these teams that are sitting here telling these guys, we don't have money to do this. And then they turn around and slide money over here and make a huge mega deal with another player. And they go, well, I thought you didn't have any money. What is that? So, I mean, congratulations for Jair Alexander. I'm proud of you. You got your money. Hopefully you don't go get hurt. Hopefully you lock Green Bay's defense down, and maybe you don't need offense. Maybe you go and do fine on defense, and it makes such a difference that Rodgers doesn't have to put up 30 a game like he's had to in the past. I just don't know how you go and pay Alexander after selling your quarterback. I don't have money to keep your wide receiver. I don't have money to draft. I don't have money to trade. We're salary cap stricken because of the contract we give you, and then we give out one of the biggest in position history. That's a fast path. I mean, if you remember, that's why he was upset and wanted traded or was going to retire, was his relationship with the front office. Well, this can't do a lot to make the relationship with the front office better. Just to me, that doesn't make the relationship with your quarterback any better when you tell them can't pay them, and then we pay the cornerback. So, there was one more story that came out this morning on the ex-NBA player Rajon Rondo. Yes, the wife has filed domestic charges against him. Seems like, according to her story, that this has gone on for a lengthy amount of time. He's been verbally and physically and emotionally abusive to her and the kids. I guess the affidavit that she provided, the statement she provided to law enforcement was he was in there playing video games with the kids, and she comes in and says, "Hey, can we fold some laundry?" And he just explodes like a rocket ship, yanks the PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo out of the wall, slings it across the room, and starts just going bonkers and telling her what he thinks of her and what he thinks of folding the laundry and the kids, and they're upset, and she's trying to get him to calm down. What ends up after the verbal altercation, he goes outside and gets his gun out of his car, and he's holding his gun and pointed at her saying, "Go get the kids and bring them out here." And she felt that if she didn't, no telling where this situation was going to go. So she goes and gets the kids, and the kids are upset, and she's upset. Finally, somehow, some way, she's able to de-escalate the situation where he puts the gun away. Cops are called, and now Rajon Rondo is facing who knows what. I mean, these are stories that are just happening way, way too often. NBA, NFL, MLB, like I just don't get what is causing these guys to go on these tears and to just absolutely break down like this. And this has been a problem with Rondo. I mean, he's been a hothead his whole career. He was in Boston. They said he was a ticking time bomb. I mean, now Boston used that to their advantage for him to get in these people's heads and talk and everything like that. It's just these guys have got to figure this out. The NFL, the NBA, we've got to get these guys the mental health challenge that athletes have faced these days has become a story. It's almost every time you open the computer, every time you turn on the TV, you're hearing something of mental health and mental stability and mental breakdowns that these guys are having. So we'll see where this goes. I mean, obviously his career's over, but he was into some analysis work. He was into trying to get back maybe into coaching. All that's gone. All that's gone now, and you might face some jail time. You might lose your kids. It's just one thing after another. All right, so that's going to be your headlines for today. We have a lot of things coming. We have Friday's show coming. Definitely going to be Jeff and Brian. We'll see if I join them as a 3 that we had Friday. It worked out pretty well. We covered a lot of information with the 3 of us. Maybe something we're going to get into here in the future. Get to the What's in Our Locker segment. And been a busy week. Been a busy week already. It's Tuesday. Been a busy week at work. Put in quite a few hours already. And we're ready for it to slow down a little bit. We are ready. I'm ready for the NBA playoffs to see where these teams go, what happens. Can the Dallas Mavericks recreate what they created on Sunday? Can Jason Kidd come up with a plan to lock Golden State down, the shooters, the percentage they're shooting, the defense, the role players? Can he keep these guys rolling? Luka is always going to be Luka. Can we keep the other guys involved? Can we keep the guys rolling? Can Golden State get out and shoot the lights out like they've been doing? Can Boston, are they going to show up? Miami has been slow and steady, has won the race. Spoelstra has had them locked and loaded and the 1 seed, and they are ready to make another run. NHL, looking forward to those series. They're going to be brutal. They're going to be low scoring. I think the only series that probably really gets off to the races is the Colorado Avalanche. That offense in Colorado is high flying. And we'll see if the goalie from St. Louis can get hot and slow him down. He did in the first round. He was able to carry St. Louis to that win. We will see. We will see you guys Friday. Thank you for joining us. And remember, keep it outspoken.